The issue of meritocracy in America and the wider West at the moment is a fascinating issue because we're totally torn on it. Let me attempt to sort of mend part of that tear in the following phrase. You all know the idea of straw manning. If you don't know the idea of straw manning, you should see my recent debate with Malcolm Gladwell in Canada, where he gave a superb masterclass in what it is to straw man an opponent's argument. I want to do the opposite of that on the issue of meritocracy and steel man the argument. What is the argument that we could actually agree on as the issue in meritocracy in a society like ours in America? And I would say that it's something like this, that nobody should be held back from attaining whatever it is that they can attain by dint of their virtues and achievements simply because of some characteristic over which they have no say. Something like that. It may not be perfect, it's something like that that we're aiming for. That the idea of a meritocracy is that nothing should hold you back if you have the capabilities to fulfill your goals. So if you have the capacity to be on the board of a company, you shouldn't not be on the board because you're gay or because you're a woman or because you're from ethnic minority. The interesting thing about this is I think we have almost total unanimity in a society like America about that question. If you look at the polls, almost nobody doesn't agree with the aim as I've just set it out. That nothing should hold you back if you have the capability simply because of something which you have no say over. The problem about this is, and one of the reasons why America in particular is so confused about the issue of meritocracy in the 21st century, is because left and right have arrived at very different ideas of how to address this question. Now, there's a critique of the rights attitude, but let me roughly lay out what I see as the rights attitude. The rights attitude on this question is something like this. It's a gradualist approach. And this has an enormous amount to be said for it. We've heard from educationalists and others, and we will do later today. The gradualist approach is that if we set up, if not the optimal conditions, at least as optimal conditions as we can set up, then this society in which people can achieve and flourish whatever their own characteristics, whatever they've started from, will occur. To my mind, it remains the best answer. However, there is a critique of it. And the critique, largely, comes from the left, says it's complacent. And among other things, it takes too long. So, in recent years, the left, again, particularly in America, has been busying itself away with its own attempt to address this question. Sometimes in good faith, very often not. And its answer, of course, is equity. Its answer is, we will not reach that point of meritocratic goal unless we actually live in a country in which, by the way, only high-status professions can be demonstrated to show equity. So, for instance, we will base our ideas on a whole set of industries and accomplishments on Hollywood. Brilliant. Take the least representative part of society in which people only advance because they're attractive, very rarely because of their intelligence. Take that bit of society, roll it out, complain that this female actress only got 20 million, poor thing, where the male actor got 25 million, and claim that no one will be free unless this multi-millionairess gets the same salary as the Top Gun actor, or whatever. Another example is boards. I mentioned them earlier. People in America now on the meritocratic issue are obsessed with boards. Most people in America, of course, do not spend their lives sitting on company boards. There was a recent, as Vivek can I'm sure address, there was recent legislation a few years ago in California which insisted that companies, if they were going to be publicly registered in California, had to have certain representation on the boards from certain minorities, and there were certain ethnic minorities they insisted must be on them, including Pacific Islanders. Oh, and also trans people. And I got a friend of mine, I'm not a math guy, I'm a know-nothing humanities type, but I got a math friend of mine to crunch the numbers on this, and we worked out that if the number of companies in California remained what they are now, which doesn't seem likely, but were that to happen, if you are a Pacific Islander who lives in California or a trans person who lives in California, you should clear your diary for the 2020s. You are going to be dashing from board meeting to board meeting. You're going to be doing the petroleum companies in the morning. You're going to have to be doing every university in the afternoon. It's going to be no fun. But the point is that we have weirdly decided that these things, like as I say, high status professions, board membership, are the things that unless we get 50% or more female representation on boards, nobody in America is free. Unless we get precisely the number of African Americans on the board, or preferably higher, nobody is free, etc., etc. What are some of the things you lose in this? Just one of the things you lose, of course, is any focus on non-high status professions. Absolutely nobody on the American left, so far as I know, is bothered by the fact that most of the people who lay tarmac on the roads and the highways of America are men. Almost nobody is demanding more trans road layers. Almost nobody is demanding more female workers on pylons to fix when the electricity cables all go and risk their lives doing that. Almost nobody argues that. It's only the high-status professions. And this tells us something, I think, very revealing about what we actually are prioritizing in modern America. Now, what should we be doing? It seems to me, and I've been writing about this recently, it seems to me that we are at great risk in America in particular at the moment of falling into what in the Middle Ages was known as accidie. Accidie was a condition that writers including Chaucer and Dante and others wrote about. It was about a sort of listlessness. And in the Middle Ages, accidie was recognized to be very dangerous for an individual and utterly fatal for a society. That is, the question of what we should be doing was effectively unaddressed. Now, I'm not checking my text messages, I promise. I was very interested in a poll the Wall Street Journal carried out earlier this week, which some of you, I'm sure, will have seen, which speaks to this issue of accidie. Just in the last 25 years, the last quarter of a century, living memory for all of us, the number of Americans who said that patriotism was, quote, very important to them, fell from 70%, 70%, to 38%. Number of people who said that religion was very important to them fell from 62% to just 27%. The number of Americans who believe that tolerance is an important virtue fell from 80% 4 years ago to just 58% today. 4 years. 4 years to lose that number of Americans who believe in the idea of tolerance. I would submit that when we address issues like meritocracy, we on the right have to bear in mind the following single thing, and I'll finish with that before handing over to Vivek. We have to recognize that the left has offered a totalistic explanation for human behavior. A totalistic explanation that, as I say, you will not be free until all of these odd things we've selected show representation. You must fight, and you must struggle, and you must strive, and you must insult, and you must degrade, and you must cut people off in your lives, and much more. That's something to do. That's something to do. It is an extremely ugly thing to do, but it's something to do. And we, on the right, it seems to me, need to spend much more of our time not simply picking apart what the left is saying that we should do, but providing answers of our own, saying this is what it would look like to have a successful life in the 21st century. This is what the aim should be. You shouldn't be playing the games that the left has invited you to play, totally unwinnable games. You should be doing the following things. That seems to me, and maybe we can get on to this, to be an aspiration worth struggling for in this century. Thank you.